Hey everyone, it's Bron here and welcome to another episode of Keep It Real. I have the gorgeous Chloe here with me. She's from Reset Therapy, but to get that right, I've just got to find my glasses. I really want to get this so we understand. So Chloe's a passionate entrepreneur. She does neuromuscular work, which she'll explain. And it's a space where it's more than just modalities of treatment for pain or for aches and pains. It's all about myotherapy, neurokinetics and stuff. So I'll let you describe all of that. But what we're going to talk about today, it's all about how words can literally change your life. In other words, the words you're saying to yourself. That's what we want to focus on. And we're going to discuss it from the office and the home and business and life. And then also from the therapist table, which I think it's really interesting because, you know, there's a lot of research in this space, like heaps of research. You go online, you'll see that Psychology Today, there's so many articles and research being done. But I want to hear about it. We want to talk about it from people who are living it. And so, yeah, welcome.
Thank you, Bron, for having me.
So just tell me, like, really quickly, neuromuscular work, what does that mean?
Okay, so neuro means the brain.
Yep.
And muscular means the muscle.
Right.
So it's combining the nervous system and the muscle.
Ah.
What happens is when you treat muscle, usually you have an approach which is more about trying to massage a muscle to make it feel better and relaxing.
Yep.
It. The thing is, that's not how the body works.
No, no.
The nervous system controls muscle. That's the main element, is if you work with the nervous system first, then the muscle will respond to whatever you're trying to do.
Interesting. So rather than just the old-fashioned
Yes.
deep tissue massage, which
Exactly.
we all love,
Yes.
you're actually taking it to another level, which is more the core, which I think is really fascinating. But let's just keep going on the topic of the day, which is how words
Yes.
can literally change your life. I know this is something you're really passionate about. Tell me, where does it come from for you? Like, what have you witnessed over the years? Because obviously you've been in the game a while now, so.
Yeah, so I think it's all about the books I've read along those years. You know, a lot about positive thinking, but I've changed my mind about the positive thinking.
Yeah, we're going to
world.
talk about positive thinking and what that actually means.
Yeah.
But, you know, you've witnessed people coming in and tell me about, like, when someone comes in and the classic, because you've mentioned this to me a few times, what do Australians say when they come in to your office?
Yeah, so that's something I've realized not too long ago, but, you know, every time I see someone, it's like, oh, how are you? How's your day? And things like that. And one thing that I've realized with Australian in particular, because I've got a French background, is, oh, I'm not too bad. What about you? I am not too bad. It sounds like, you know, it's a cultural thing. So I never ever thought it was having such an impact.
So people don't say that in France?
No.
Really?
No.
Isn't it classic?
Yeah.
It's like the tall poppy syndrome. Like when I've just recently been to the US, I didn't realise that tall poppy just doesn't exist as we know it in the US. But anyway, back to I'm not too bad.
Yes, so I'm not too bad. What it does to your brain is the brain doesn't understand the negative word.
Right. No, it doesn't actually.
So it's some research on that. So it doesn't understand the negative word. So the last word you're saying is too bad. The word bad is not very healthy when you think about it. So I'm not saying you have to see everything like rosy and say all the good things, but we can alter a little bit our wording and say, oh, I'm good, but I could be better. Or I got the flu, I could feel better, but I'm good. Or something along those lines where you're not shooting yourself in the foot, you know.
And it's really interesting. So, you know, we've got here, you know, how is negative language, because it is negative language, even though we may not see it as negative language, especially when it comes to pain or AKA business stuff, overwhelm, frustration. It's the words we use as we describe these things, you know. For me, Facebook Lives is, I've told myself for a long time that I'm no good at this stuff.
And you're amazing.
And now I'm changing the script and I'm
Yes.
working hard on saying, you know what? I love Facebook Live and it's really, but I love Facebook Live because we're sharing a message.
Yes. And it's not about you, it's about...
It's absolutely nothing to
Yes.
do with me.
Mm.
This whole thing right now has nothing to do with me. So tell me about
yeah.
more on this language. Obviously, you've had people come in and they say not too bad. Tell me about, because I know you were telling me once around, you've got clients who have chronic pain,
Yeah.
and the ones who use the negative language are the ones who are not getting better or are not managing their pain. How does that work?
So what I found over the years is when you say to yourself, I am in chronic pain, which is something the doctor going to diagnose you with, the way you're going to interpret this information is going to impact your chance of success, of recovering from whatever is ailing you at the time. So let's say if you say, oh, I'm in chronic pain, you don't have much chance to get out of that chronic state.
Right.
So you
Yeah, very true. Just ignore the mowing again. I
So-
think he must be cleaning something.
So what happens is you can say I'm in persistent pain, or the same thing is like I'm getting better, I can cope better. All those things, it's like you're not doing positive thinking. You're not trying to, make the situation look better than it is, but you're just trying to make a little progress. And
With the
build-
words that
with
you
the
choose.
words, yes.
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
words
yeah,
that
yeah.
you choose. So it's all about the inner dialogue.
Yep. Tell me about your take on that.
Okay, so in what way?
So in a dialogue, is that the way you talk to yourself? Is that
Yes.
what you think? What's what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Just so that we all know that Chloe calls it inner dialogue, and I think that's a great way to describe it, because I call it the itty bitty shitty committee.
That's the monkey man.
Or the monkey man, whatever you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
call it. Because in my case, it's like we've got this. It's like this. There's a whole little committee going on in there, and it's like this. It's a bit like politics, really.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
so
which is
having
really
an
sad.
argument.
It's
Yeah,
really sad,
yeah.
really. But yeah, the inner dialogue. And now, what do we got here? I just want. Where's your little cards? You got some really cool things to say.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So one thing is the human mind is wired to keep us alive, and when you
yes.
understand that, it changes the whole game, because it's not wired to keep you happy.
It's like the whole, we
Yeah.
call it the caveman
Yes,
thing, where
yes.
it's literally hunter-gathering, survive.
Yes.
And in Maslow's, hierarchy of
Yes,
human needs,
absolutely.
it's survival down the bottom. So
yeah.
you're saying that the brain is wired to
keep
keep
us
us alive and not happy. So how does that play out?
So what?
Because
happens?
we're all striving for this happiness.
Exactly. We're all striving towards happiness, but that's not how the brain's been wired. So we are not, if you don't have this information, you're going to have a lot of frustration. Okay? So what happens is the word you use is an inner dialogue, but it's more an instruction to your brain.
Yep.
So if you keep saying, oh, I'm stuck in traffic,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
this boss is killing me, all those words are actually affecting your immune response.
And this is the important stuff, can I say? This is the important stuff.
So what happens is when your immune system, which is what keeps you alive, is down, what happens is you have your heart rate goes up, cortisol, which is a stress hormone, goes up as well, and that keeps you in that fight or flight mode. One thing about this, it affects your digestion. So you can't be in the stress response and into the relaxation
Correct.
response at
For
the same
digestion.
time. At the same time. So what happens is we don't have, survival threats as much anymore. It's more like mental threats that we're getting throughout the day.
100%.
So we are constantly in that stress response, and that affects your digestion, your immune system. It keeps you unwell in some ways. So trying to change that in yourself is one of the most important things if you want to get better, in my opinion.
And it starts with what you tell yourself,
Exactly.
which is
So-
your inner dialogue.
Exactly. So
Cool.
that's how we're getting into
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I like that. It's cool. So what else you got on your cards there?
Okay, so yes. So, said all of this. Yes, so what happened is how to explain this? I've got a blank.
Well, while you've got the blank,
Yes, yeah.
what have you been able to do with your clients, the ones who have come in with a dialogue that's
Yeah.
shoddy or who
Yeah.
I'm not too bad?
Yeah.
What is, like, say, one thing you can do or what you've been able to help them with
Yeah.
at that time?
So let's say, for example, sometime I've got people coming and they have a diagnosis from the doctor, and or they've seen someone, and that person say to them, "You will never recover from this." And this makes me absolutely cringe. I'm like, "Oh my God, who told you something like this?" Because that's really negative for that person. How can they recover from their mind thinking it's nothing that can be done? Very similar, this is going to be controversial, than someone saying it's genetic. If someone tells you what you have is genetic, I have scoliosis and it is genetic.
Chloe does have scoliosis, okay? That's a whole nother conversation and is doing, can I just hit pause here? Doing amazing work in broadening the awareness of what people can do, because you know what, so many of us actually have scoliosis. If you actually have an x-ray, you'll actually see that, maybe not as apparent as Chloe. So there's loads of stuff, but that's a whole nother talk. But yeah, keep going.
So what happened is, if I had heard, "Oh, you've got severe scoliosis, you should get operated on," I didn't get the operation. So that tells you that I really believe in what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm finding other way to counteract it. But the fact that someone once tell me, "Oh, it's genetic, nothing you can do about it."
Yeah.
Imagine if I had listened to that person.
Isn't that interesting? It's very much similar to what we spoke about with Rod recently, which is we're not arguing a diagnosis, but we're defying the verdict.
Exactly. And what can you do about it?
And it's, and it's the language, because I've heard the way you describe that.
I don't say my scoliosis. It's the
scoliosis. It's the same with my the diagnosis that I received with the C word. It was the cancer. It was never mine.
So
I don't own it.
Yes.
It's not mine to own. And it's a very different, like just recently I went to a retreat by Lifeform. It's an amazing retreat for breast cancer. They call them survivors. I call myself a thriver.
That's awesome.
Because surviving to me, for me, not for anyone else, is a negative word.
I agree with that.
You know, I'm not a survivor, because surviving means that I've, you know, yes, I come out battle scarred, and nothing is the same, like literally nothing's the same, but I'm a thriver despite the verdict. And I don't know what the future holds, but I was there and I was with a lady who had a diagnosis, and the doctor told her 6 months ago she had about 2 years to live. And the whole time I'm talking to her, she's saying, "We know, I'm already 6 months in to this," and I'm going,
wow.
And it's not my place, right? But I actually said, you know, I said, "Can we just hit pause for a second?" And I said, when you tell yourself, so this is a classic example of your inner dialogue that we're talking about today, that words literally become the truth.
Exactly.
I said, "Can we just hit pause?" Because I was so. I was not triggered. Trigger's not the right word, but I was concerned for her because she's 56, all right, and she's a local lady, and I said, "Please, can we just hit pause?" And I said, "You don't know, I don't know. Your doctor, okay, there's a disease and we've got history. Like, I'm a nurse educator in my previous life. I know these things." But it's defying that verdict. And by the end of the day, she said, "I cannot wait to celebrate my 60th birthday."
Oh, that's awesome.
I've got goosebumps. But she, you know,
Yes.
because she said, "I cannot," because being 56, and she said, "I cannot wait." It's not whether she celebrates the birthday. It's the belief
And
that she can do these things. And I think that's the most powerful thing we're talking about today. And, you know,
your belief is everything.
belief is everything. You know, power. Like, there's so many books on that, and you
Placebo effect, all those things.
it's brilliant. But like what we're talking about is that we want to be able to bring it down to keeping it real, which is
your words.
the words.
Yes.
And do you feel when your clients come in, do you hit the pause button? Or, I mean, because again, you know, these people are not asking us. people are not asking me to correct them, but I just felt, well, in that case, I just felt I had to say something because, you know, what you tell your brain is what you believe.
Yes, so I'm not going into that too much with them unless I find it...
Unless they ask, perhaps.
Yeah, or I find a window where I'm like, oh, you know, like you can maybe change that a little bit and if you want to use those words instead.
Nice, very
so
nice.
It's absolutely up to them what
Yeah,
they
100%.
do. But I'm just giving them a little bit of guidance, let's say.
Yeah, you're right. So what you're saying is that we don't tell people what to do. You know, in life, business at all, it's about demonstrating, I believe, not so much about telling. So like, I agree, you know, you wouldn't tell someone to improve their language or to pick them up on it, even though I know I just told you a story I did. What's something that the average person can do today to help them become aware? So we talk about, you know, creating the awareness for people to be aware. What's something do you think we can do that?
So as an example, if you're sitting in traffic, not stuck in traffic.
I'm laughing because I've said that
more
than once.
And in Port Macquarie, we are not really stuck in traffic,
We are
to be
so
honest.
not stuck. What have we got, 2 sets of lights?
So yeah, I think we can change the
But if I'm in
language a
Sydney, I've
Yes.
lived in Sydney.
That's a different story. But you are sitting in traffic, and while you have a lot of time on your hand, what you can do is try to go back into your body. So by breathing exercises like belly breathing, for example, that can help to bring your stress levels down. Sorry. And as a result, you're not going to be too much into your mind, more into your body, so more in the present moment. And what it does, it stops that monkey mind.
Yes, yes.
And help to build your immune system up as well.
You know, there's a lot of talk about being in your heart space, and really what you're saying is to even simplify it that one step more, which is about being in the present, but going into your body, feeling your body. And I think breathing is the easiest thing to do, even if you don't know how to do breathing exercises. You know, one, you can YouTube it, but or ask you, is around just that focusing on just now, because we don't control the future.
Exactly.
Tomorrow is guaranteed to no one. And yeah, I think that's really, really cool. So how can people find you?
Okay, so I've got a website called resetmindbodytherapy.com.au and a Facebook page called Reset Me Therapy, and a Facebook group which is completely free called Ask Chloe.
So I would absolutely recommend going into that group. So, excuse me, I'll put a link to Chloe's page, and then on there I'm assuming you can find the group.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, if you're wanting those exercises on breathing when you are, you know, sitting in the traffic,
Yes.
it would be a great place. So yeah, so website, what did we say that again?
So resetmindbodytherapy.com.au.
Yep.
And yeah, because it's all about the body and the mind relation. It's not
Yes.
just one thing or the other. And in the world of therapy, we have that tendency to separate everything. So what they call holistic approach is trying to bring everything together. Because that's how the body has been created. It's not just one heart and one lung and one leg.
Yeah, totally.
So when you start to look at the bigger picture, that's when you start to have a bigger impact, in my opinion.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And we're creating awareness to be aware. So thank you for your time
You're
today. It's been
welcome.
great.
Thank you for having me.
That's
and
great.
yeah.
Cool. Any questions, pop them below the video. And take care. We're keeping it real.
Yes.
We are. All right. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
See you. Bye for now.
Bye.